Okay, this is now our final video for this class, and we're just going to have some fun with the tags and just creating backgrounds and putting our tags together, and I'll show you a little bit of my journaling as well. The main idea of this final video is not to do a step-by-step commentary and hold your hand. It is just to give you a visual kind of idea of my process and how I create these tags. You can be as free as you want to with this. You're going to see some ideas of how to use different products and mixing things. For this one, I just had the previous video a short little insert that I'm not even going to do a voiceover for. I just wanted to give you an introduction to the background of this specific tag that I created, and then we dig into this video where I'm going to just give you a short quick just the process of how I put this together. In the end, just doubled up using foam dots and some fun foam just to give dimension, but you can leave that out. And then always rules of three, try to add some things to the top, to the middle, and to the bottom left of the page or right side, just to carry the eye all over the page. I would say that's kind of one of my top tips. I always add a flower element to it. Then I adhered two tags together using washi to the front and the back just to secure it, and then just decorate it with some pattern paper here. And then in the end I did punch a hole through again and added a little yellow ribbon for fun. And by the way, that ribbon is leftover ribbon from when I got married in 2008, and it's always a wonderful reminder of God's faithfulness in my life, that after a season of a lot of heartache and tears and waiting and yearning for someone, for a friend, for a partner, a life partner, for my husband, God did give he did give him. And so I'm only, as I'm doing this voiceover, realizing how God brings things together, that ribbon should be there. It should be on this tag, on the very first tag of hope, of my hope book, because it's a visual reminder of how faithful he is and that he did bring me through to the other side of suffering. I'm very excited about that. I hope you can hear that in my voice. It basically just hit me between the eyes. Right, so the next experience is basically what I want to end this class off with. It's absolute free expression using all the things that you have in your stash. Try and use as many techniques as you have learned thus far. If you're a total newbie, then just take in the process of playing with the different aspects of art mediums and papers and things. Just to be starting a page that is blank can be daunting and you don't know what to do. So adding just some paper to it is just already giving it a start. It's some color to your page. And you see me just gluing it down with a glue stick, but I do recommend rather using the gel medium to stick those papers down all the way, because the glue may not be great quality and then it does lift, and especially the sides may lift when you use your heat tool to heat things up. So in the end, I do prefer the gel medium. This was just a quicker, less messy way of just placing the paper down and just covering them with the gel medium, but I did in the end struggle a little bit with the corners to get them stuck down. I had to go in again with some gel medium and just make sure that everything was stuck down. So just a side note. And then just dry that off, and then we start coloring our page just like we did with our art girl, using distress oxides in this instance because it really reacts to water and gives off wonderful texture on the page, and it's dreamy. It's just, I love the reaction it has on the paper. So I start with just playing around with that, and you'll see me in between doing just adding excess product that I have onto a tag that I have on the side. So that's already starting another project. Let it dry naturally. You don't have to worry about it, because by the time you're done with this project, that that tag will be dry and you already have a layer down of some sort, kind of just prepping with gel medium or adding some texture with texture paste and a stencil, just whatever you have left on your palette knife. Add it to the tag so long in a random fashion. Don't even think about it too much. So just acquire that habit over time to try and not waste your art product. You do see me in the video sometimes wipe it away quickly, but just for the sake of moving along. But for the most part, I like to have an art journal nearby and take out some pages and just stick it down on the desk where the art medium is and have some texture and color on a page already. Then dry things in between your layers. That's kind of very important. And make sure that you have fun as you go along. Play some of the playlist music while you're doing this project in the background and let the Lord just speak to you. This process is very messy and it's random and chaotic, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. Just go where your hand takes you and mess about and just keep going until you see what you like. That's what life is about. You know, we have to keep going through the hard parts to get to the good stuff. If I stopped praying for Henry, if I stopped praying for my husband to come into my life and I gave up, I would not have the privilege to be married to him. We are married for 15 years now. We have been. And so even though those 15 years were not easy, there was a lot of adjustment. If you marry late in life, there's a lot of adjustment. And there were struggles and emotional trauma to be processed from the past for both of us, and lots of things, two families becoming one. So life is not just a bouquet of roses. And so this just random abstract art piece is just reminding me that life can be messy, but in between that messiness, you can find beauty and you can find peace, you can find rest, restoration, healing, even. And it's just a question of not giving up on the process. So you might be tired watching all the videos. It's a lot of content to work through, and you might not have the energy to start the creative things. Just give it some time and then come back to it. Make your notes and start your project and keep going until you have finished the goal that you have set before you. You may want to do this project very minimalist. You may want to kind of overcomplicate things for yourself by doing it even in more depth than I am approaching it. Your approach may totally be different from mine, and you may have much less than I have in terms of art product. And I want to remind you, if you feel discouraged and you feel like, oh, she's got all the things, this has taken me 7 years to accumulate to create a studio, an art studio, a paper art studio that is a design studio that, you know, creates products, develops products and ideas, encourages a community, builds up a community in faith, with art, with God's word. There's a lot of things happening in my studio, and for that I need tools and products and things and video equipment and all of that, and that didn't happen overnight. Rome wasn't built overnight. When I moved into my first little hostel flat at that first school that I told you about, I had basically my bed, I had a couple of coffee mugs and a kettle, a couple of chairs, and my clothes and some toiletries and some groceries for the kitchen, and that was it. I didn't have much, and I was very kind of sad about it because I had these 3 rooms and a bathroom that was empty and basically no furniture and things in there. It wasn't homely, and I came from a cozy home where I was, you know, raised in, and so now I'm all alone and I don't have much around me, and I'm an artist, so I'm creative. I need to have visual stimulation and the comforts of home. And my sister was with me when I moved in, and she said, Rome wasn't built in a day. And 6 years later, I had a full house to move, and it was a big effort to get everything moved out of there into my next abode. And so I want to remind you that, you know, you might not have the tools, the things that you would like to have to express your art and your creativity, or to Bible journal. Start simple, invest in a good quality watercolor palette and a couple of brushes, good quality paper, and that's it. And your printables. If you have a printer, I would say the printer would be the biggest investment and tool to kind of aim for in the beginning, because with a printer you can have so much freedom and do so much, and it's an affordable way of living out your creativity with printables and digital products and things. And the way that I organize my business gives you all of this freedom in the comfort of your home. And just remember always that the digitals are for personal use and it is not for commercial use, and you're not allowed to actually print stuff for your friends. You need to direct them and guide them towards our website, and allow them to purchase their own copies and print their own copies. If they struggle with printing and things, you can assist them by taking them to a print shop and say, okay, now here you go, take your stuff to the print shop, or help them purchase a printer and train them up how to use that printer. There's lots of ways and things, and if you've got other struggles to help your friends get going in this hobby and doing things this way in terms of creative journaling, and you have specific needs and things, then contact the original creator and ask permission for things, and ask them how you can go about helping your little community if you've got a couple of friends that you want to assist. But please do not print stuff for them. That's not the idea. Once you do that, then it means that my income stream ends there, and that, remember, is the reminder that you need to keep in the back of your head when it comes to this kind of venture and things that people offer you in terms of their content and it's their livelihood. Just always be respectful of that. Back to the artwork here, just playing with pencil and adding colors in here. I'm really not thinking hard about this process. I'm just going where the page takes me, and what I'm doing is constantly turning it upside down and the other way around, and that gives you a different perspective. And that's what I want for you in terms of your struggles as well, is take a step back and look at it from God's perspective, if you will, and from a higher ground, and say, but what might God's purpose in allowing me? It's not always his will to make you suffer extremely bad things, but sometimes it is his will for you to experience things, so that, and ask him what that so that purpose is. What is that purpose? What is it that he's stretching you for? What is it that he's teaching you? One day you might wake up and realize that the deep depression that you went through was to help someone else survive their depression, to give them hope that there is an outcome that is greater than what you can dream up or think. You might find sometimes you get stuck, like I'm stuck with this pen now and it doesn't want to write on the gelatos, even though I heat set the gelatos with my heat tool. It just doesn't want to go, and it's a acrylic paint pen. It should be writing and gliding over it, but it's just not doing it. So sometimes something should work, but it's not working. And I've gone through that in my life, where I've done everything in my power to make something work and turn out successful, and it's just not going anywhere, or it's just not happening, or a project fails miserably. What do you do then? That is kind of the point to this whole class, is you have to have a strategy, and your strategy is hope. And where do you find it? Where do you grow it? In God's word. We've given you 40 scriptures. I've given you the study notes with a ton of scriptures in it. You have a place to start. If you have studied the topic of hope before, then that was your starting place, and this is where you continue. It depends on where you are in your journey with the Lord, where you are in your life, which phase of your life. Are you in your early 20s, 30s? Are you in your mid 40s, 50s like I am? Are you reaching the age of letting go of your work life and retiring? Do you have grandkids? Are you at the end of your life? You're close to the end of your life and you are fearing death and moving on to the next. What is the Lord teaching you? What is His heart for you? What does He want for you in this season of your life? Just hold on to hope, dear friend. Don't let go. Look at me just finding a solution to keep going. I couldn't make that pen work, and I decided, well, I have the paint and I've got nice black watercolor and I've got ink and things, so let me try that. And I just dipped my paintbrush, and sometimes the simplicity of a paintbrush and some paint is all that you need. So don't think that you need all of the things immediately. You have to go and buy the Posca pens, which is acrylic paint pens, and they are now very trendy. That's the next trendy product that is pushed on you if you're doing art journaling, is all of these acrylic pens and things. You don't need to buy the rainbow immediately. No, don't need the most expensive pen. Go for the cheapest one. Try it out until you get frustrated with that, or you have the funds for the more expensive product. Then you try one or two of those. I go for a basic black, a gold, and a white. I don't buy the rainbow in all of the things until I find that this is my go-to product, and then I'll start collecting it. Posca pens can be expensive. Faber-Castell products in general are very expensive. The Americana paint is a really good quality paint. There is a cheaper version, a crafter's acrylic, but it doesn't cover as well. In the end, what I would suggest is that you try out Americana and try out the crafter's acrylic. Both, one is cheaper than the other. I think the Americana in South Africa goes for around 40 rand, between 40 and 60 rand. So it's gone up in price considerably over the last couple of years due to COVID and things, and the shipping to South Africa also increases the price, but it lasts really a long time depending on how much you use it. It's a good quality paint. It's my go-to. I really love it. I do use other acrylic paints as well, and I'm at a point where I want to dig into artist grade paints, which would be more expensive, but that has taken me 7 years, no, actually longer. I'm nearly, I would say, nearly at a decade of doing art full time, and close to that. And it's a long time for a studio to be built up, an experience to be built up. And 10 years is not even as long as most other artists have 20, 30, 40, 50 years that they work on their art craft. And so don't compare yourself if you're a beginner or intermediate, or even if you feel like you're a little bit more advanced. Don't compare yourself with anybody else. My efforts may not be perfect, and it might not be 100% what you would have liked or your taste. And that's also something that's individual to each person. What you like to do. If you don't like messy art, you like it more precise, then go for that. Just work at it. I like the messy stuff at some points in my life, and then other times I like the paper because it's clean and neat. At the end of this video you'll see me show you my hands, because I used ink and worked with the distress oxide inks and so on my hands. Got a lot of it on my hands actually, and I struggled last night to get all of this stuff off and washed off before I went to bed. And it's so you have to embrace the mess that life brings you. In the end, I copied this finished A4 page, made color copies for myself, 2 of those, and I took a photo for future reference, so I can reprint this and use it again in my tags, so that there's continuity in the backgrounds of my tags. Now I'm just showing you an alternative for the next 2 tags, so that you've got some visual reference of how to change things up, use a little bit less on the tag, show a little bit more of the background. The process would end up covering perhaps more of that beautiful mixed media background than you would have liked. I want you to embrace that, in the sense that sometimes we hide our pain. Sometimes we hide our messiness. We don't want to show it. And sometimes we even hide the beauty that we have inside of us. I know I went through that many times in my life, and just because I don't want people to use or abuse that beauty that God gives me. Don't want it abused. And people are sometimes takers and they are bullies. Sometimes they are jealous about your gift and they want it for themselves. They want your gift, they want the end result, the products and things, but they don't want you as a person. They push you to the side, they abuse you, they bully you, they ridicule you, they ignore you, and they single you out to kind of exclude you from social gatherings and things. I've gone through all of that. And so sometimes you hide your beauty, you hide the beautiful things that God has placed inside of you, and you don't share it. And that's typical what this tag ends up being. But on the front part, we showcase the things that we want to show. We select the parts of us that we show to the world. And God is challenging me to also show the messy bits and share my pain sometimes, not always, not in detail. I won't necessarily share with you everything, but sometimes for the sake of the uplifting of the body of Christ, it's necessary for us to share our journey. And in my very first workshop, I actually did that, and one lady, because it was a scrapbook shop, actually said, no, and less of your story and more of the creative things. And that was so sad, because it's actually your story that changes lives. So don't forget to share your story when you're encouraging a heart to hold on to hope. I hope you enjoyed all the creative things, and I hope to see you in another class soon. Please let me know if you've got any questions, and I'm so glad that you joined me for this one.